Alright guys, welcome to RC Mojo. This week we're making suspension and steering links for the SCX10 Yes, the whole of bag D is just links. Lots of links. What we'll do is just go through step 1 to get a feel for it and then skip ahead. Since that's not going to be a very long video, we're also going to go through bag E, the drive shafts, which only has one step. Hopefully those two together will make up the time, but if not, I'll upload a video of a mate's truck driving over an ancient Roman wall. Right, so in bag D we have loads of rods. It's not a bad idea to order them by size, so it's easier to pick the right ones as required. We've also got a ton of rod ends where we have some straight ones, angled ones, and some special ones for the panhard bar. And lastly, of course, there's lots of steel balls. To make it as simple as possible to get the lengths right first time, a vernier or caliper to transfer the measurements is really handy. We just set it to the length in the diagram and off we go. You can also hold the parts up to the diagrams, as they are of course full size, but it's not quite so easy to get them spot on. In step 1 we need one short link and one of the fairly long ones, 4 angled rod ends and 4 balls. Unlike a lot of kits, all the links are proper turnbuckles. They have a hole through the middle for adjustment. So all we need to do is thread a rod end on each end. Now because it's a turnbuckle, one end will have your usual righty-tighty thread, the other one's going to be lefty-tighty. The idea being that if we need to adjust the length once it's on the chassis, all we do is turn the rod to lengthen or shorten the link without having to remove it. We need to spin the rod ends on until the link matches the length in the diagram. In this case it's 54mm between the inside faces of the rod ends. The longer link is just the same, a pair of angled rod ends screwed in to match the length in the diagram. To complete them we just need to grab some balls and fit them with some pliers. They just need a gentle squeeze followed by a bit of a twist to pop them in. And that's about as complicated as bag D gets. We just rinse and repeat, making up a full set of links. The panhard bar in step 2 uses special rod ends, but again they just thread on and the balls get fitted. Make sure the length is right and you're good to go. After you're done with step 6 you should have a collection like this. Super simple, if a bit repetitive. Now you see I'm always torn in kits. Some have you build links here and there through the build as needed, which spreads them out a bit. Others just have you do the whole lot at once just to get them out of the way. I'm really not sure which is the best method. Anyway, that's bag D. Let's run through bag E. In this bag we have all the bits to make up the drive shafts with their CV joints. Since this bag only has one step, we'll lay out all the bits so we can find everything quickly. Now what we have is more or less 4 of the same assembly. One of them has a slightly longer shaft, but the build of the joint is exactly the same. To make one joint then, we need from left to right the cap, outer, shaft, inner, round bit and the pin. Okay, so I've got no idea what the proper names are, but they all have to do. Actually, there is one I do know the name of. We need an M3x8 countersunk screw. Right. So starting with the inner, we need to apply some thread lock to the threaded hole on the opposite end to the CV joint. Pop it into the slotted end of the shaft. Then install the screw way up inside the splined end of the shaft and nip it up nice and tight. Next we apply some grease around the hole in the inner before popping in the round bit. The only thing to watch out for here is we want the hole in the round bit to be lined up with the slot in the inner. All should become a bit clearer in a moment. Next the outer goes on. It's got a small hole that needs to line up with the slot in the inner and the hole in the round bit, because now we need to pass the pin through the whole assembly. If everything's lined up it should go straight through. If the round bit isn't quite lined up it's not going to be going in. They can be a bit fiddly, but once you've got the knack you can run through them pretty quickly. The last thing to do is fit a cap over the outer to keep everything together. Until it's fitted to the gearbox or axle, the shaft will be a bit prone to falling apart, so be careful with them. Once you've got all 4, we can fit them to the gearbox. It's your fairly typical setup with a screw pin. So all we do is offer up the appropriate length shaft to the output of the gearbox, lining up the hole in the output with the hole in the cap and the outer of the CV. You can use a small Allen key to make sure it's all lined up. Then we apply some thread lock to the screw pin and pop it through the threaded side of the outer and nip it up. Repeat with the other one, and that's the shafts fitted. Axial also want us to fit the spline section and the other shafts, but they're not a tight fit, so they're most likely going to fall off before we get the gearbox fitted to the chassis. So for now we'll just keep them safe off to one side so they're ready to go. And well, that's it for D&E. Bag F is going to be a lot more involved though. We fit the links and more or less put together the entire chassis in 10 steps, so that should be a fairly long video. That's it for the SCX10 this week then. As mentioned at the beginning, I'll put up a bonus video too. It's a red Jeep with a mix of parts making up the chassis, powered by a brushless motor. Anyway, that really is it for this week, so as always, thanks for watching, like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment if there's something on your mind. Bye guys!